38 people heard her scream. 38 people watched, and according to the world, not one of them helped. For 60 years, this story terrified millions. It became proof that humanity was broken, proof that ordinary people could watch someone die and simply do nothing. But decades later, researchers discovered something disturbing, because the story everyone believed wasn't entirely true. And somehow, that makes it even more terrifying. Because if those 38 strangers weren't monsters, then who was? And there's one uncomfortable possibility almost nobody wants to consider. Maybe you would have done the same thing. March 13th, 1964, 3:15 in the morning, Queens, New York. 28-year-old Kitty Genovese had just finished work. She was tired. The streets were quiet. And then she noticed someone following her. His name was Winston Moseley. At first, Kitty thought she could make it home. She couldn't. Moments later, he attacked. She screamed. A light turned on. Someone shouted from a window. And suddenly, the killer ran away. For a few seconds, it looked like she had survived. But that's where the nightmare really began. Because 10 minutes later, he came back. And before sunrise, Kitty Genovese was dead. What shocked America wasn't just the murder. It was what newspapers claimed happened next. 38 witnesses, and supposedly, not one of them lifted a finger. The story exploded, and overnight, humanity itself was put on trial. The explanation felt almost too perfect. People said cities had made us cold, that modern life had killed empathy, that nobody cared anymore. And honestly, it sounded believable. But psychologists thought something else was happening, something much stranger. Because common sense says more people means more chances of help, right? Wrong. Researchers discovered the opposite. Sometimes the more witnesses there are, the less likely anyone acts, which makes absolutely no sense, until you understand what happens inside the brain. Because responsibility has a strange habit. When everyone shares it, nobody feels it. Everyone assumes someone else will make the call. Someone else will help. Someone else will do something. And while everybody waits, nothing happens. Psychologists called it the Bystander Effect. Case closed. At least, that's what everyone thought. Researchers ran a simple test. People sitting alone usually rush to help, but put them inside a group. And something weird happened. They hesitated. Not because they didn't care. Because they looked around and saw everyone else staying calm, which made them think, maybe it's not serious. Maybe somebody already called. Maybe everyone else knows something I don't. Without realizing it, people started following each other. And that's where things get weird. Because decades later, researchers discovered something nobody expected. The famous story itself wasn't completely true. There weren't 38 people watching a murder like some horrible movie. Many only heard pieces of it. Some thought it was a lover's argument. Others couldn't even see what was happening. And contrary to what millions believed, some people actually tried to help. One neighbor ran outside, held Kitty in her arms, and stayed with her until the end. The truth was messy, human, confusing. But here's the part nobody expected. Even though the story was flawed, the psychology wasn't, because scientists kept seeing the same behavior again and again and again. Which raised a darker question. If ordinary people can ignore danger, what else are ordinary people capable of? In the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram asked a disturbing question. Could normal people hurt someone simply because they were told to? Most people laughed. Of course not. But when volunteers believed they were giving painful electric shocks, many obeyed, even after hearing screams, even after begging. Not because they were evil, because authority told them to continue. And suddenly, scientists realized something horrifying. People don't need bad intentions to do terrible things. They just need confusion, pressure, and the comforting belief that responsibility belongs to someone else. History is full of monsters, but far more dangerous. Are ordinary people waiting for somebody else to act? Most people believe they'd be the hero. Almost everyone says they would help, but fear changes people. Confusion changes people. Crowds change people. And under pressure, you might become someone you don't recognize. Which means the biggest lesson from Kitty Genovese was never about 38 strangers. It was about an illusion. The illusion that good intentions automatically become good actions. They don't, because courage isn't discovered in emergencies, it's practiced before them. And maybe that's why this story survived. Not because it revealed monsters, but because it revealed something much scarier, how thin the line really is, between hero and bystander. Because evil doesn't always win when bad people act. Sometimes it wins when good people wait. And one day, the person everyone is waiting for might be you.